I'm considering buying, I'm considering renting. Where do I take action? Like, what's the best way to go about, okay, I've decided it's right for us to buy the booth. Who do I go to? Like, how do I choose that person to buy the booth from?
Okay. So if you have an exhibit house that you work with, always a good place to start. If not, I think, particularly if you're thinking about renting, I would maybe start with a Google search and look for providers um, in the city that your show is going to be in. So, for example, if I'm going to Chicago, if I find an exhibit house in Chicago that rents exhibits and does it well, check them out online and make sure they're credible. Pick up the phone and have a conversation with somebody. If they sound credible and trustworthy, now you've got somebody that you can engage, because what you've just done is you've ensured you're not necessarily going to be shipping from Phoenix, Arizona to Chicago. If you feel that, no, I'm really looking at buying, and because of my active show schedule, and I want to sit down with somebody, there are
Mhm.
trade show exhibit showrooms. You could go in and talk to somebody and see some real examples. Although I think there's so many great things that you can see online of people's work, but
Yeah.
you can sit down with a satellite office, a great strategic or creative person locally if you feel more comfortable doing that. You have a lot of options whether you want to do it online or whether you want to do it in person. But for me, I think if I'm renting, I'm looking for somebody
Well,
in that city. And another reason, I'll tell you why. You know, Murphy's Law is alive and well on the trade show floor, Khalil. I know you know that, right? The world
yeah.
conspires to destroy the beautiful thing that you and I design the minute it leaves a dock somewhere. So I have learned it's nice to have a lifeline in a strange trade show city. So if I'm getting my exhibit and my solution is coming from somebody in the city that show is, I know that if there's any surprises or curveballs that show up, I've got local people to back me up.
Yeah, that's definitely, if you're renting, it's better to just rent from the place where you're gonna be
I think so.
rather than worrying about the shipping delays that could happen and logistics and, you know, um, yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay. So, anything else that we need to cover on buying or renting? We've really dug into it.
No, I think that's what you think about is how often are you going to be using it? That's the first thing. I think if it's 3 times a year or more, you've got an argument to be made for really looking at what the cost is to not just purchase it. Remember, you want to think about the cost of owning it and using it. So, how big is it?
And
What you put it
maintaining
back
it
into? How much
and
do I need to
managing
store it?
it.
You can get a per pound transportation cost of what it's going to be to move around. That's going to help you with your budget. If you're replacing an exhibit that you had, you've got some historic data that you can work on. But if you're starting
Right.
from scratch, I think the best way to again, if you want to test drive something or you want to, stretch the budget and spend most of it on things that get people out of the aisle and into the space talking to you and your staff, I think that's where renting can really give you an advantage of not breaking the bank, and
Yeah.
have a great first show. And once you do, um, turn the straw to gold, make a bunch of money, and then have a budget to either go back and buy something and say, "Hey, this worked great,"
Right.
own one, or just
We
keep
should
renting.
we should get somebody on the show that has owned their booth, has that historical data. And I'd love to see, like,
It's a great idea.
hear from their perspective. What did you budget? That would be an interesting one,
Yeah,
to get on.
yeah,
So, yeah,
sounds good.
cool. Well, thanks for sharing all the information. Obviously, CrewXP is a great person to rent from in Orlando or Las Vegas,
Well, we are,
in
and
the surrounding
unfortunately,
areas.
we only work with partners like exhibit houses, and so we're somebody they turn to. I know we had Dan McLean from Trade Show Displays on. He's one of our partners. He's a guy that works directly with people we work with. If you are looking for somebody locally, hit me up on LinkedIn, and I can put you in touch with a local partner that can help you directly